Okay, by popular demand we will have a joining the dots session. We'll start with the sneaker and then we'll go on to the taillight. The issues with the sneaker are going to be more based on opinion, but there is a way to sort of resolve that, I guess, in a join the dots kind of fashion. And the outstanding issue with the taillight is that some people have an issue with understanding how the mirroring affects things, so we'll go into that as well. I'm going to try as hard as I can to just stick to the facts and not introduce opinion, because, they're a bit like arseholes, everyone's got one. And far be it from me to separate you from your arsehole. So, about the sneaker. I never said it was an Air Force One. What I said was, someone mentioned Air Force One, which took me to the website, which got me into this customization app thingo, and that's where I realised that you can pretty much make any shoe look like anything, including choosing a black sole if you wish. So in my mind, no matter which style of shoe you bought, you could have put a black sole on it, right? In the end, all that did was indicate that you can't really narrow it down to a specific type of shoe because it has a black sole. Because any of them can have a black sole if you choose to customise it. Did Nike offer these customisations back in 2022? I don't know. What I do know is it's not a given that you can determine what type of shoe it was simply because it had a black sole. Arguing that the black sole looking shoe is not the same as the white sole looking shoe in a court of law is completely different to arguing over it on the internet. Because all Ali has to do is say, yeah, that's a shadow, here's the shoe in the snow with the white sole, you're all wrong, so you don't really win any points in the courtroom. And to be honest, my son and I can recreate the snow and the shadow effect by moving the lighting in a certain direction, changing the intensity, and bada boom bada bing, it'll look like it's got a black sole. And if the defence really wants to argue that the shoe in the snow is not the same type as the shoe in the courtroom, then there is actually a label inside the shoe tongue that tells you exactly what type of shoe and model you've got. The point is, you have to choose your battles when you're in the courtroom. And this would not be an easy battle to win, simply because shadows. Similarly, arguing about text fonts versus fonts provided by your security camera service for embedded timestamps might not be a hill you want to die on. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm just saying these are the choices that you need to make when you're in the courtroom. What are the hills you want to die on? Some of them are a lot bigger than text font and shadowy shoe soles. Especially now that Bev's decided that a court week's ultra short and it's going to wrap up by the end of the month. And I have to say, the hill that Jackson chose to die on is a far better hill, and this is why. Something to note about this particular footage that we're going to look at next is that it came from Mr. and Mrs. Reed's ring cam. So nobody chose to put a timestamp in the way, so to speak. The tow truck just happens to be at the very outer perimeter of what this camera captures. A few feet further away and we wouldn't even have this ring cam. Anyway, this is where Buchanan tries to convince us that we can see a white light and not an amber light. Just as he tried to do when he pointed out Karen's taillight leaving John's driveway early on the 29th. And this is significant because of how it correlates to what they were showing us in the reversed or the mirrored CCTV footage at Sallyport. We know Mr. and Mrs. Reed's ring cam is not mirrored because we saw Mr. Reed get out of the driver's side, and it was the correct side of the car for America. And that means the tail light that Buchanan is pointing out here is actually the passenger side. But we can clearly see that it's amber and lots of red, not white as he claims. Okay, so bookmark this in your memory. It's amber and red on the passenger side. Now we'll go to the Sallyport video where Karen's car pulls into the Sallyport. In the mirrored direction, the direction that they showed the jury in the courtroom. Now look at the tail light. Does it look like there could be parts missing? Does it look like it's shining a bit more white than amber and red? Did you think that you were looking at the broken taillight on the passenger side? Now let's mirror it back to normal and watch it again. You can now see that it's normal because the word police on the old Ford Galaxy is in the right direction. But in the normal direction, this also means that we're actually looking at the driver's side, and that's not the side they're claiming was damaged. They're claiming it was the passenger side that was damaged. Yet, looking at it here, the driver's side is glowing almost like it looks like it's broken. We know it's the passenger side that hit John's car. We know it's the passenger side that mechanic pointed at and said it was glowing white, when we can clearly see it's not. The driver's side was never in dispute whether or not it was broken. The jury saw with their own eyes Karen's car at the viewing with a completely intact driver's side light. It was never the driver's side that was in question. And that, my friends, is why the mirrored footage shown to the jury was so completely deceptive. Because the driver's side taillight glows exactly the same way as the passenger side taillight glows in any of the videos. They both show a lot of red with a little amber patch down the bottom corner. But for some reason, the driver's side looked like it was actually broken and damaged in the Sallyport video. While the defence is currently limited to only being able to ask cross-exam type questions, they're not going to be able to completely connect these dots for the jury. And that's why they said,
wait for us. We'll be glad that you did.